What's up, everybody? Jordan Stewart here from Vover. Thanks so much for tapping into the Vover Original Show. Just a reminder that if you want to drop your opinions about the episode or respond to the host and guests with your voice, go and download the Vover app wherever you get your apps. Vover, voice over everything. Enjoyed the show.
What's up, guys? Happy Monday and welcome to the Vover WNBA show. I'm your host, Justine Brown, and I want to talk a little important history today about one of the greatest legacies, the greatest legacy ever in the WNBA, and that is the Houston Comets, who on this day, 25 years ago, August 30th, 1997, won the first ever WNBA championship on their way to a four-peat, led by a 34-year-old rookie by the name of Cynthia Cooper, who had 25 points in the championship game against the New York Liberty. Cynthia Cooper won MVP that season. She won Finals MVP that season. She, in the league's inaugural year, played her rookie season at 34, and we all know the rest is history. She's one of the GOATs. That was the first of their 4-title streak in a win over the Liberty. And I just want to talk a little bit about this team. Obviously, we know Cynthia Cooper. This team also had Cheryl Swoops and Tina Thompson, who had 18 in that championship game. And the way that the league worked when it got set up was players were allocated to certain cities. So, of course, Cheryl Swoops, being from Texas Tech alum, was sent to Houston. They had Lisa Leslie coming out of USC going to LA. They had different players from different areas that they thought would build an audience around those teams. So that's how Cheryl Swoops ended up in Houston. And then the other player allocated to this team was Cynthia Cooper, who goes on to become a 4-time WNBA champion and a 4-time WNBA Finals MVP. And basically with her being 34, at this time, they didn't get to see players play a lot. Players had the national team, but I don't know that anybody had any idea just how good Cynthia Cooper was going to be, which is how you end up with Cheryl Swoops and Cynthia Cooper on the same team. And then with their draft pick, they go and get a player out of USC, Tina Thompson. And so now you have a team just loaded with talent that goes on to create a dynasty and win 4 championships. And I just want to honor that team. I think it's important to talk about the history when we are just in only the young 25th year of the WNBA. The league is still just a baby, and the league was thriving during these times. And the really interesting thing is, the sad thing is that the Houston Comets organization dissolved. It no longer exists. And I think to this day, a lot of fans find it sad. These games were rowdy. They were full of fans. They had some of the best crowds we've ever seen in the WNBA. And then there was this thriving rivalry with the New York Liberty, who was led by the likes of Rebecca Lobo and Teresa Weatherspoon and Sophia Witherspoon, and these games were just loaded with energy. And so to see the Houston Comets organization inevitably dissolve, I guess due to bad management and a few bad years, has, I think, always been a pain point in a WNBA fan's side. And I think, when we start talking about expansion, everybody is in this conversation right now that the league needs to get bigger, whether that's adding teams, expanding rosters. I think to see the Houston Comets come back and be able to see players like Cheryl Swoops get their jerseys hung in the rafters and to be able to see the merch again and be able to buy it and reignite that Houston fan base would be an absolute treat. And I think that's one of the things that I think is worth talking about in this 25th season is that expansion and growth and the players and the places that started it. And so I just wanted to shine some light on this Houston Comets team that was the greatest legacy we've ever seen. 4-time champions, full of legends. A couple other names, Kim Perot, who, rest in peace, was lost to cancer just 2 years later in 1999 after being one of the star players for that 1997 championship Houston Comets team. Janeth Arcane, Tammy Jackson, Tiffany Woosley. Cheryl Swoops that season actually had a baby and came back at the second half of that WNBA season because she was always a part of launching the league. She was the first player to sign onto the WNBA, and she knew that some way, somehow, she needed to be a part of that inaugural season. So while her career started off slow after coming back from that pregnancy, that team set the foundation for what the WNBA has become today, and I think we're in this wonderful growth period now with fan bases thriving again, and I think it's important to always revisit this history. So shout out to the 1997 Houston Comets, who won the first ever WNBA championship today, August 30th in 1997. Moving on, I want to talk about the 2 players of the week this week. That was Briana Jones in the Eastern Conference and Skylar Diggins in the Western Conference. Two players that had absolutely incredible weeks, leading their teams to undefeated weeks. Skylar for Phoenix has been playing just fantastic. She averaged 27 points, 6 assists, and 2.5 steals this past week in 2 games against New York Liberty. So, Liberty killer Skylar Diggins. She had 27 and 5 in the first game and then 27 and 7 and 4 in the second game this week against New York. She's averaging 19.2 points and 5 assists on the season. So, Skylar deserves some recognition for what she's been doing this season for Phoenix. And then Brianna Jones of the Connecticut Sun helped lead the team to a 3-0 record during the week, averaging 18 points per game, 9.7 rebounds, and 2.7 steals per game. They beat the Aces once and the Sparks twice to give the Sun 3 wins. The Sun are currently the best team in the WNBA at 20-6, and I think the biggest threat for a championship right now. They have a 3-headed monster in Jonquel Jones, who's averaging 19.8 points per game, who many people think is this season's MVP. DeWanna Bonner's averaging 16.2 points per game, and then Brionna is averaging 14.5 points per game. So that's kind of a 3-headed monster in Connecticut, leading them to the current best record in the WNBA. Another game that was notable yesterday was the Sky versus the Storm. It seems like the Storm have hit a little bit maybe of an Olympic wall. As we know, a lot of their team participated in the Olympics, was overseas, and they're kind of hitting a bit of a small wall. Yesterday, they got just obliterated by the Sky, 75-107. The Sky had 63 points in the first half. Candace Parker had 25 in 3 quarters, sat the fourth quarter. And then they lost to the Sky on Friday night as well, 73-69 in a much closer game. And that's 2 of their 3-game losing streak that they're on, losing to the Lynx on Tuesday. So the Storm are on a little bit of a skid right now. Like I said, maybe possibly hitting a wall. Sue Bird, Jewel Lloyd, Brianna Stewart all spent time at the Olympics. You know, they've been putting in a lot of time. They didn't get the break that everybody else got. Brianna's a brand new mom, so who knows how much sleep she's getting right now. But we'll like to see what the Storm do to finish off the season. I'm sure they're looking to turn it around and get some wins coming up against the Mystics and the Liberty. But I do like this matchup come playoffs. I don't know when and where these teams would face off as of right now. I think it would be the second round. But I don't hate this matchup. I like the Brianna Stewart, Candace Parker matchup. I like the way these teams play against each other. Obviously, Sluty and Allie Quigley have been playing great, along with Kalia Copper for the Sky. And it seems like the Sky are really clicking right now, trying to make a push into maybe third place. And the Storm are looking to kind of turn around this little skid they're on. They're 18-10 with 3 losses in the last 3 games. So we'll see how that goes. That was a game I thought was worth noting. As always, we have a full slate of games coming up on Tuesday with a matchup between the Sun and the Mystics, the Liberty versus the Lynx, the Sky at Mercury, which I have that one circled, and the Sparks versus the Fever. So make sure you catch those games. Stay in the loop. We're nearing playoff pushes. We're going to see where some of these teams finish off in the standings. I hope you guys are having a great Monday. Have a great week. We'll catch y'all next Monday. This has been the Vover WNBA show. I'm your host, Justine Brown, and I will talk to you guys next week.
Vover!